Okay, I'd like to use this opportunity to talk about the first exam during week 5. And so the process will be that you'll show up to class as you normally do in the lab, if possible, and access D2L. And during the class hour, or the 50 minutes, you will be able to download the exam and type your answers into the document file. And then you will resave your file and then upload it to the Dropbox for the exam. This synchronous exam will be available during class time and during your section. And so it will cover the first 3 study guides. Basically, you will use your responses to the prompts in the first 3 study guides as ways to study how to answer and how to write a definition for sound waves or frequency and pitch. So you will be asked to type in your responses to questions about frequency, amplitude, waveforms. There will be some short answer where you type your answer. There will be some multiple choice, and a variety of different kinds of questions in this regard. But if you use your study guides as a study tool, of course, that will help you. You will also be asked to diagram the analog audio system model. And so in this case, you will have this basically blank diagram in which you will have to fill in your answers for these 4 boxes in the order in which they are in, and these levels. So input transducer, preamplifier, output transducer, or I'm sorry, power amplifier and output transducer, mic line and speaker level. Because we won't be able to assemble an audio system together, I'm going to ask you to be aware of the different components of your standard analog audio system. And those comprise of input transducers, and here we have a dynamic microphone and a condenser microphone. Those output line level to a preamplifier, and a preamplifier is usually housed in a mixer or something to this effect. Usually the preamplifier is a part of the mixer here, and I'll get to that in a second. And then the power amplifier and output transducer are usually housed inside the same powered studio monitor. Those are most common these days. And so we're going to focus on the most practical application of the analog audio system model. You will be asked to identify parts of these 3 components. The XLR cable and locking connector. That's obviously backwards. I'm going to go ahead and switch that, sorry. So the XLR cable and locking connector, the microphone diaphragm and windscreen. You will not have to write these out, but rather you will have to place, basically match what these are with the description down at the bottom. Your condenser microphones require phantom power, and they come in 2 different kinds. Of course, you have to find the XLR cable and locking connector because that's required for the thing to work. You have a large diaphragm microphone capsule here, and you also have a small diaphragm microphone capsule. Those are the 2 kinds of condenser microphones. I will also ask you to label the parts of a basic mixer, basic analog mixer, and remember that is also the preamp. So the input side of a mixer comprises of the preamp mic level input, and you'll notice that sometimes these things are labeled very nicely here at the bottom of each component. So this says microphone mic level input. This is your line level input, this jack. It's called a TS jack. Your gain trim knob is here. Your pan knob, if you follow the channel strip all the way down, you go to the pan knob and the output level knob, channel strip level knob. And over here is the phantom power switch. So if you have a condenser microphone connected to your mixer, you'll activate the phantom power button to make it work. On the output side of the mixer, you have the main output jacks, and this is what you would connect to a set of speakers. So this is a line level output that'll go to a powered monitor. It's a 1/4-inch jack. Your main mix output level control slider is here, and your main mix output LED indicators are here. Almost all analog mixers will have these components, and they'll usually look like this, even if they have 32 channels, 64 channels, 128 channels mixer, massive mixing desks. They all have these basic components. You have an input side and an output side. They all kind of are going into different channels, and then they go out this main output. The powered speaker, I found this really cool picture of a set of really nice powered speakers because you can see all the components really nicely. You have your speaker cone, obviously. You also can see where the amplifier heatsink is in the back of these powered monitors. And so that just sort of shows where the power amp is. You also have your line level input, so where you would plug from the mixer to the speaker. This is your XLR connector, and this is your RCA connector for line level input. Every speaker will have some sort of volume knob. Because it's powered, it has an amplifier, so you need to be able to control the output if it's a powered speaker. And then, of course, your power switch. And this is important because some passive speakers do not have amplifiers and they don't have power buttons, but these are powered monitors, and so they require a power switch. So it's important to understand that designation. So this component combines two parts of our model, of our analog audio system model, the power amplifier and this output transducer. So these two things are put together into one box, essentially. And so we will be using these images and asking you to label them accordingly. And so be prepared to find those things on the pictures. So you won't have to type all this out, but I will ask you to identify with letters what these things are. And these are just a list of concepts that go with each kind of connector. So mic level connectors are usually XLR jacks. They require a preamp. They go to two different kinds of microphones, dynamic or condenser. They're also, of course, ribbon mics, but we're not going to focus on those. They're not as common as the condenser or dynamic varieties. The question is about phantom power. Which one requires phantom power? Well, the condenser microphone, because it's got a little preamp in it, requires a little bit of power from the mixer, and that's what phantom power is. And this is basically just reminding us what an XLR cable is. And phonograph cartridges also put out mic level signal, which is why they need a little phonograph preamp. Your line level connectors are different in that they do not require a preamp or a DI box. Most line level signal types use either a 1/8 or a 1/4-inch jack or a RCA connector. And those are often CD players, an iPhone, computer output, other types of consumer gear that are just basically sending out an audio signal that's typically just line level. And finally, speaker level outputs. They come in different kinds. Sometimes these have to be shielded, so the wire is thicker. And so often it'll be a 1/4-inch shielded cable here. This is called a speak-on connector. It's kind of an odd shaped connector, but it locks to the thing you're connecting it to. And also sometimes XLR cables can be used as speaker outputs. So this is a summary of what we're covering here on the first round of exams and what you'll be required to identify. If you have any questions about these things, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll totally help you. Thanks.